Hey gang, Joyce with Skip and Kaz Farms here. Came across a video about 3 o'clock this morning describing pretty much what I'm seeing with my 1A Bear peach tree. Talking about the splitting of the bark and the losing of its leaves. The darkening of the bark and the oozing of the and the splitting of the bark, and you can kind of see all of that here. Basically what they said was that and I don't remember the scientific names, it doesn't really matter. You can see how the base of the trunk right down by the ground is darker. Evidently that there's an anaerobic bacteria and fungi that attack the cambium, which is that growth layer right below the bark, and eventually it will kill this tree. And I just have one branch left that I have a chance to possibly save. So I did a video earlier where I foliar sprayed with copper sulfate, and after I foliar sprayed with the copper sulfate, you can see how the surface fungus has kind of gotten loose and gotten better, but it's not enough. So all of this is kind of coming loose. So I'm going to try something else on my own. They suggested that you buy, obviously, may have been a video that was promoted by an industry. I'm seeing a lot of very bait catchy type of titles that end up promoting specific products, and it's probably just like an infomercial, only it's identified as, oh, this is what the Amish do, or this is what your grandparents did and is now outlawed. Gotta be careful on some of that stuff. Some of that stuff is really good ideas, but if they start promoting products at the end, run away. So what am I going to do? Well, first of all, anytime somebody's going to sell you a mycorrhizal fungi or any kind of microbial amendment, number one, you've no way of testing it, no way of knowing that it really is what it says it is. And number two, and in my opinion, more importantly, those are not going to be indigenous strains or local strains, and over time they're going to die off. They're not going to be a good long-term match for your ecology because they were raised in a test tube, so to speak. It's just like if you've ever had livestock. If you've got a bottle-fed goat or lamb, they behave differently. And if you've got a bottle-fed ram lamb, when he gets bigger, you've got to keep your eye on him. The same is true with a bull calf, because they don't have that sense of distance. What's my point? My point is, it makes a difference. So I'm going to try something different, and this is what I'm going to try. I've got an IBC container that I was going to make a Johnson soup bioreactor out of. Let me put you on hold. Let me show you what I have now. Okay, gang, here's what I originally set up as a Johnson soup bioreactor. It's an IBC container that I leveled and put on cinder blocks. I did put a support underneath that was perforated, so it gives it about an inch or so across 90% of the bottom, to keep the bottom out of the water, so I could drain through this valve any extra leachate. I cut the top off just below the corners, and there's the top over here. I just use these pieces of scrap pipe to give a little air gap. What that does is that gives me a functional lid to keep the shade off, but still lets the air circulate and protects it against getting too much rainwater. That's just what I chose to do because it's out here outside. This is what it looks like inside now. The entire cover, the entire top of it has been covered with cardboard essentially the whole time I've had it. This was filled all the way up to the top with leaves, a bit of green material, and a bit of manure, but I did not have enough green material initially, and or I didn't have the moisture content just right, and it never got above 130 something degrees Fahrenheit, so it never got hot enough to go anaerobic. My second mistake was, after I discovered that, I said, well, I'll just go ahead and put the earthworms in and let it work that way. Well, I put in about 1,000 earthworms, and you're only supposed to put in 100. So what I ended up with at this point in time is a huge earthworm bed. There is just a very light covering of leaves. There's a bunch of earthworms in here. They were running out of feed, so I just put a little bit of sheep manure and straw that I've got over here on top of the cardboard, on top of the leaves, to kind of hold the leaves down and give the earthworms a place to get up where they could get up out of the vermicompost, because that tends to get pretty tight. So this is where we're at. So what does that have to do with anything? So where I'm at now is I've decided that rather than try and deal with mycorrhizal fungi, buying something that is going to be expensive and may or may not work, and or dealing with the anaerobic conditions around the root ball of my peach tree, I decided I'm going to try homegrown. Surprise, surprise. The idea is to be as self-sustaining and self-contained as possible. So I got a little beat up old 5-gallon bucket here. I've got this IBC container that's got a little bit of aged sheep manure on the top, but essentially underneath, let me see if I can reach up and reach down and show you. Basically underneath, all we have is a real thin layer of leaves, and if you can see, there are earthworms all over the place. And once you dig down in here, all this dark stuff here, that's all vermicast. So what I'm going to do is scrape away this, pull back the cardboard, and I'm going to get myself about 1 gallon of vermicompost and all the earthworms that come with it, and I'm going to put it in the bucket, and then I'm going to spread it around the base of that peach tree and see if those earthworms and that vermicompost can't go down and start to inoculate that tree root ball. That's the game plan. So with that, gang, I will wish you blessings for the day, and whatever you do, just keep chasing the dream. Hey gang, back. I was able to put it on hold, and so when I went in there and started digging and looking, I realized that was pretty wet material. So I opened the valve. Normally I open it into a bucket, but I just opened the valve and let the water fly. Now the water's coming out pretty clear. Initially it was pretty dark, but since I'm kind of in a crunch for time, I've got an appointment I've got to leave for, so this is what I dug up off of the top. There's a bunch of earthworms in there. There's a bunch of little earthworms in there. Earthworms were all over the bottom of that, the bottom of this cardboard. So let me climb back up here and let me cover this back up. And that was kind of why I did what I did with the manure and straw or hay, was to hold the cardboard down and give, because they love cardboard. That cardboard's all eaten up from the bottom and was just covered with earthworms. Let me see if I can show that to you from here on the other side. I've disturbed them, so I don't know if they'll still be there or not, but let's take a look and see what we can see. So there's a bunch of earthworms right here, several of them, and this whole area was just covered with earthworms. There's some other critters in here too, but there's earthworms all along in here. And let's see if we can get another undisturbed area and see if we can see anything. Yeah, see, look. That's just wall-to-wall earthworms right there. There's probably 30 or 40 earthworms right there in that little space. They just love the corrugation. They quote-unquote eat the cardboard, but really what they're eating are they like nematodes, they like bacteria, they like other microorganisms, but bacteria are a principal food source. And now this water is down to a drip, so I'm going to go ahead and shut off that valve. I'm going to put the phone down. We'll carry this back over the peach tree. I'll be right back. Okay, so we put the lid back on it, and here's the IBC container. I put that black up during the winter time as a heat sink. I'll be taking it down here pretty soon, but it's still getting cool at night. And I'm going to put you back on pause because there's not a handle on this bucket, and I only have 2 hands, and I've got 3 things to carry. So I'll be right back. Okay, gang, we're back over here at the peach tree. As you can see, my Russian 4 comfrey here is doing pretty well. Here's my bucket full of crud, and that little grub hoe is a nice little tool. It's a nice digging tool. I walked over here to the peach tree earlier, and this clump of grass was actually right here up against the trunk. Definitely not a good sign. So what I've decided to do is to put that vermicompost not right up against the tree, but right between the tree, kind of in a U shape, 6 inches or so away from the trunk, between the peach tree and the Russian comfrey. I'm just gonna dump it out and make sure it doesn't get too close to the tree trunk, and that's probably going to be it. Let me go ahead and get that done. I'll show you what it looks like.